your face in the crowd. I never thought that I would see you tonight. We lock eyes and you smile. Every single memory comes back to life.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can tell from the title, I have a new video for you today using the Huda Beauty New Nude palette, and we're gonna compare it to the Beauty Creations Tease Me palette. Basically, the Huda Beauty palette came out after the Tease Me palette did, so the question is not if the Tease Me palette is a dupe for the Huda Beauty, but if the Huda Beauty is a dupe for the Tease Me palette. It wouldn't be the first time when Huda, let's say, takes inspiration from another brand. Looking at the palettes, it is completely possible. If you put them next to each other, you can not deny the similarity. The top one is the original Beauty Creation palette and the bottom one is the Huda Beauty palette. However, I must say that the Huda Beauty palette contains some slightly different shades. The Tease Me palette is more of a brown and burgundy toned palette, whilst the Huda Beauty palette has some extra shades like this peachy color, or all of these like purpley shades such as this one. So she definitely added a bit of a twist to it. I purchased my Beauty Creations palette on Amazon, and there is a bit of a story to that I'm going to tell you in a second, but it cost me about £6 on Amazon, and it took me about 2 weeks to receive it. It came from the USA. The Huda Beauty palette I purchased on Cold Beauty and it was £56. There's the standard price for it in the UK. On eBay there are plenty of fake versions of this palette. I actually have a fake versus genuine makeup video coming up soon on my channel. I have done one already. I'm gonna link that for you guys, but basically in that video I compare the fake and the genuine products to each other. I must say that this Huda Beauty palette has some really poor fakes on the market. However, they do some really good fakes as well. They do come for higher price though. They come for about £20. Now that said, I haven't tried finding it on places like AliExpress yet. I'm gonna be honest, on AliExpress you usually buy better quality fakes than you would on eBay. So that being said, I have a bit of a story about this Tease Me palette. Now this Tease Me palette came from the USA, but before I bought this one from the USA for £6, I actually bought another one on eBay that was £10, and the one I bought on eBay is a fake. I don't know. I don't know where is this guy's going that they make a fake of a £6 palette. As soon as I purchased it and I saw that it was coming from China, I was a bit because I know that Beauty Creations is a USA based company. They make their products in the USA, so why would they then ship it back to China to sell it to me? So yeah, as soon as you put them next to each other, the fake and the real versions of the Beauty Creation palette, you can definitely tell that like this shade is completely off in the fake, and yeah, just like the fake version of this is really bad. I'm gonna insert you a picture in a second with all of the shades swatched so you can see how bad this one is. All the pans are just glued in really weird, so I would say if you live in the UK, do not go on eBay because they all seem to be fake, to be quite honest with you. Go into Amazon and for a cheaper price you will be able to get the original one. That being said, this video is about comparing the Huda Beauty palette to the Beauty Creations palette, so that's what we're gonna do now. First I'm gonna go and swatch all of the Beauty Creation shades on my arm because that's the palette that came out first, and I'm gonna go and try to find a matching shade from the Huda Beauty palette for each of them, and we're gonna see how they compare. Looking at them in the pan, like I said, they do look quite similar, but some of the shades are only present in the Huda Beauty palette, because the Tease Me palette from the Beauty Creations is much more of a neutral, really brown and burgundy palette, whilst the Huda Beauty one definitely has a pink and purple tone to it. Okay, so let's start swatching the Tease Me palette. We're gonna start with the shade Lies, which is a lighter shade that can be used for a base or a brow bone color. Next one is Blissful, which is a beautiful shade. It's almost like a camel color. Then we have Pleasure, which is a little bit darker and more pink. The next one is Kiss Me, which is a really nice shimmery gold shade. Look at the quality of that. Then we have Innocent, which is the second darkest shade in the palette. It's a red toned dark brown shade. Then we have Fire, which is shimmery cranberry shade. The quality is outstanding, especially for this price point. Then we have Sexy, which is also a gold shade, just like Kiss Me, but I would say this one is more of an antique gold, meaning it has less yellow and less red in it, and more just like a subtle bronzy shade. The next one is Orgasm, which is a really nice nude shade, a bit pinky, perfect crease color. Then we have Tempting, which is another shimmery shade, but it's almost like oh my god, the pigmentation is so good on this palette. It's almost like shimmery dark brick color. The next one is Charming, and this is the darkest shade in the Tease Me palette, and it's a cool toned brown. Then we have Nudes, which is just a hint darker than Orgasm. It's another pinky nude shade, very beautiful again. Next we have Seduce Me. It's a nude shade with no pink in it, basically. Then we have Please Me, which is really similar to Tempting, but it's more of a burgundy. Next we have Peaches, which is a really nice medium pink brown shade. I love how many pinky brown shades they actually have in this palette. So the next one is Classy, which is another gold shade, but this gold is like a champagne gold. Oh my god, that is really stunning. Then we have Dare Me, which is, wow, another great shade. This is a pretty nice red bronze color. And then we have Lost, which is the first shade you will notice when you open this palette. It's a pressed glitter shade, really beautiful. It has a lot of fallouts because, like I said, it's a pressed pigment. That's how it looks. Gorgeous. And the last shade in this palette is called Desire, another reddish, almost like a burgundy brown shade. Definitely has more purple in it. So those are all the shades from the Tease Me palette. So now let's get into swatching the Huda Beauty ones. So the first shade in that palette is Bear, and Bear is probably quite similar to Lies. Yeah, they are quite similar, however the Huda Beauty one is more pink. Then we have Crave, which is a champagne gold shade. I would say it's probably the best next to this shade. Yes, they are very similar with that shade. Then we have Play, which is a beautiful pinky peachy shade. We don't have anything similar in this palette, so I have no idea where to swatch it. Maybe next to one of these camel colors, because to be honest, this camel color doesn't have anything similar to it. Then we have Fantasy, which is almost like a cranberry shade. The next one is Love Bite, which is the darkest shade in the palette. It's like a really dark purple shade. I don't have any really dark purple shade except this shimmery one, so I'm gonna swatch it next to it. But like I said, this one is a matte shade. Next we have Spank, a nice like a reddish purple shade. I don't really know where to put this one. I'm gonna put it next to one of these brown shades. The next one is called Lace, and it's beautiful, beautiful purple color. I'm gonna swatch it next to this little pinky nude color. So that is the shade Lace. And then we have Daydream, which is another shimmery color. I'm gonna have to swatch it here on the top. Then we have Tickle. I'm gonna swatch Tickle here, even though it's darker and more purple. Then we have Excite and Excite, and the next shade called Infatuated are both glitter shades, and I don't have any glitter shades in the Tease Me palette. It's really soft, so you need to be careful with applying these, because I have a feeling that these shades will have a lot of fallout. One of them will definitely need to go next to this shade, and the other one I will just put next to it to kind of like keep them all together. So this is the shade Excite. I'm not exactly sure who would use these shades. I don't know why, but to me glitters just feel so childish anyway. And the other glitter shade is called Infatuated, and that one is a little bit lighter. So I'm gonna put that one here, even though it's a really different shade. This one is more purple, the other one was more burgundy. I just don't like these. And then we have Kinky, which is a nice cranberry shade. I was saving the space next to this one for this color, so we're gonna swatch them now next to each other. And yeah, they are extremely similar, although Kinky is a little bit darker and definitely more pigmented. Now the next one is the concealer shade, which I feel like as the whole beauty community, no one really understands. If she give you a small version of her Overachiever concealer, everyone would have been amazed. But giving us this bad quality concealer, I kind of feel like we would have been better off if she just simply put a matte color here instead and called it a day. But now that we have this in the palette, I will need to swatch it somewhere. I have only dark shades coming now, so I'm gonna swatch it next to this light brown shade. Yeah, so it's a really sheer pinky concealer. Nothing special. I just feel like it was really useless to put it in this palette. The next one is Secret, and it's a nice brown shade. Best next to this color, although it's much more of a cool tone shade. Then we have the color Tease. I don't really know if it's a dark brown or a cool toned purple, but I'm gonna swatch it here next to the cool toned brown. Yeah, it's definitely more of a purple, so it's this one. And then we have Raw, which is a more of a burgundy brown shade. So let's swatch it here on the top. Yeah, it's definitely similar to that one, even though it's more burgundy. Then we have the last shimmery shade called Charmed, and that one is an antique gold shade, so it's gonna be perfect next to this shade. Yeah, they are very similar, but Charmed is a little bit darker. It has a really weird consistency. It's not like the other shimmer shades in the palette. It almost feels like cream. It's very interesting how many different textures she used in this palette. I've never seen anything like that before. And the last shade in this palette is called Teddy, and it's a nice reddish brown shade. I would say the whole palette is extremely similar to the Tease Me palette, just more cool toned. Okay, so that's it for the swatches, guys. Like I said, I'm gonna put another picture up with a little bit better swatches to really show you how each shade looks next to each other. Nevertheless, we're gonna jump right into creating an eye look now, so let's see how they perform on the eyes. So looking at the two palettes, I would definitely say that the Huda Beauty palette has tons of purple shades that the Tease Me palette absolutely does not have. So for a fair comparison, I will try to use the shades that are present in both palettes. So I will try to stick to the more brown and burgundy shades. As always, I'm gonna be using the cheaper one on this side of the face and the more expensive one on this side. Okay, so first for a crease color, I'm gonna take the shade Orgasm from the Tease Me palette. Just apply it all over the crease. So from the Huda Beauty palette, a very similar shade to Orgasm is the shade called Secret, and I'm gonna apply that one on this side all over the crease. I would definitely say that straight away it's much more pigmented. I had to go back on this side 3 times with the shade, and on this side I just touched the brush to the lid and I got the same level of pigmentation immediately. Before we go any further, I want to add the same shade under my eyes, so I'm gonna take Orgasm here and I'm gonna take Secret on the other side. From the Tease Me palette, I'm gonna take the shade Peaches, which is a little bit darker reddish brown shade, and I'm gonna start building that up on the outer corner. And I would say let's put a little bit in the inner corner as well, and let's just create a halo eye look. And now we're gonna jump back to the Huda Beauty side, and on the Huda Beauty side I'm gonna take the shade Teddy, which is also a little bit more of a reddish, almost like a terracotta shade. And I'm gonna try to create the same halo eye effect on this side. I'll be honest with you, the Tease Me palette is not bad at all. It's just more like your average eyeshadow palette, but honestly the Huda Beauty one blends so nice. So that's how we look so far. I definitely feel that on this side we're more blended and it's an easier application. So next, to darken up the outer corners, I'm gonna need to go into a darker shade. In the Huda Beauty palette, the darkest shade we have is Love Bite, which is a dark purple shade. And like I said, in the Tease Me palette, we don't have anything like that. So instead, we're gonna take the shade Raw, which is the darkest brown shade. And in the Tease Me palette, we have a shade similar to it called Desire. So we're gonna be using the shade Raw from the Huda Beauty palette and the shade Desire from the Tease Me palette. I'm gonna start with the Tease Me side as usual. I'm just gonna tap on this shade called Desire on the outer corner. The Tease Me palette has a quite dark brown shade called Charming, but like I said, the Huda Beauty palette doesn't have any really dark brown shades, only that dark purpley burgundy shade. So I don't want to use two completely different dark shades, so we're gonna just stick to this one and keep it a little bit of a lighter eye look, nothing dramatic. So I just blended everything together. I'm gonna take a little bit more of the shade Desire just to the outer corner of the lower lash line. I'm gonna jump back into the Huda Beauty palette and take some of the shade Raw and start applying that to my outer corner as well. That is already so much more pigmented, and like honestly the whole palette just blends like a dream. I'm gonna take a lighter shade to apply on my brow bone, and in the Tease Me palette that is gonna be the shade Lies, which is the lightest shade in the palette, and in the Huda Beauty palette is gonna be the shade Bear. So here goes the shade Lies. That is actually quite pigmented for a cheap palette. I'm gonna go in with the Huda Beauty side with the shade Bear. Bear still shows up better, but the shade Lies is really good for this price. So far I'm really impressed with this palette. Okay, and here comes the star of the show. So now we're gonna apply the shade Lust and the shade Crave as a pop of color in the middle of the eye. Wow. Okay, so this is quite a glittery color. I'm not sure if the shade Crave will have the same consistency. The shade Lust, it's unfortunately like a loose glitter and it just went everywhere. I thought it's gonna be similar to the Huda Beauty palette, that it looks like a loose glitter in the palette and then it will turn into a metallic shade, but it didn't, and it kind of just all fell down on my face and I hardly have anything left on my eye. Let's see what happens on the Huda Beauty side. So like I said, we're gonna take the shade Crave. The same scenario, I'm just gonna take it with my finger. And yeah, this is a really different story here. It's still glitter, but it's almost like it's more finely milled, and because of that it just sticks to your eye better. I don't even know how to explain. But this side is really gorgeous and buildable, and this side is not buildable at all. I'm just gonna spray a little bit setting spray on my finger and go back in the shade Lust. Oh yeah, the setting spray definitely helped. Okay, now I need to apply more on the Huda Beauty side. Just to make sure that we give the same chance to both of them, I'm gonna put setting spray on this finger as well. Okay, now both eyes are popping and I think they look quite similar now after the second application. I was a little bit skeptical before using the setting spray. I thought that it was gonna turn into a failure, but I think it actually looks quite nice. I'm gonna go off camera quickly and I'm gonna apply some eyeliner, mascara and lipstick, and I'm gonna be back. Okay guys, so there's the completed look. I think if you apply similar colors, they do end up looking very, very similar on the eyes. I think it turned out absolutely gorgeous. Like I said before, the only thing is that the Huda Beauty palette blends so nice and it has some additional colors. I am absolutely in love with this palette. I think it's so gorgeous. Every single shade is so amazing. When I first saw this, I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't think I was gonna buy it, simply because I felt like I have similar colors already. I mean, I used to have the Urban Decay Naked 3 palette that had a really, really similar color theme. I absolutely love this palette and I'm absolutely keeping this palette, and I absolutely recommend this palette. If you feel like you can't afford that Huda Beauty palette for £56, I get you. This palette for £6 or something like that, for maximum £10 you can definitely purchase it. It's so nice and it blends really well, and I can definitely tell why they feel like the Huda palette was inspired by this one. I must say, if she took this palette as the inspiration, she definitely took it and improved it, because her palette is absolutely gorgeous. This palette is really nice, but her one definitely stands out next to it. That's it for today. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because I'm gonna be back with loads of videos like this in the future. And have a great day. See you next time.